Late in the evening, when the marble halls of the mansion were unusually quiet and the city lights shimmered beyond the tall glass windows, Jonathan Hale, the billionaire CEO known for his cold discipline and untouchable authority, stopped mid-step near the kitchen corridor when he heard a soft, trembling voice that was never meant for his ears, a voice that carried more loneliness than words ever should. "I need a boyfriend. I just need someone who stays." And those few words, whispered into a phone, landed heavier on Jonathan's heart than any business loss ever had, because the voice belonged to Sophia, his maid, the same young woman who cleaned his mansion every day with quiet grace, who never complained, who always smiled even when her eyes told a different story. Jonathan stood frozen behind the doorframe, watching her through the half-open doorway as she sat at the small wooden table, still in her blue maid uniform, fingers gripping the phone tightly, eyes glassy with unshed tears, her shoulders slumped not in weakness but exhaustion, the kind that comes from carrying life alone for too long. And as she spoke to whoever was on the other end of the call, her words spilled out honestly, saying she was tired of pretending she didn't feel lonely, tired of going home to an empty apartment, tired of being invisible to the world except when someone needed their floors cleaned or their dishes washed. And Jonathan, who owned private jets, skyscrapers, and more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes, felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest, because in that moment, he realized how little any of his wealth meant against the simple human need to be loved. Memories he had buried resurfaced uninvited, of his late wife's laughter echoing through this same kitchen years ago, of warmth that once filled these halls before ambition and grief turned them into cold monuments of success, and without thinking, Jonathan quietly stepped back before Sophia noticed him, but the words followed him like a haunting echo. "I just want someone who chooses me." And that night, sleep never came, because Jonathan found himself replaying every interaction he had ever had with her, the way she always asked if he had eaten, the way she spoke gently to his dog when she thought no one was listening, the way she avoided eye contact as if she believed she was somehow smaller than everyone else. And by morning, he made a decision that shocked even himself, a decision that would change both their lives forever. Instead of his usual brief nods and silence, Jonathan greeted Sophia by name that morning, thanked her for the coffee she made, and watched her flinch slightly in surprise, and used to being acknowledged. And over the following days, small changes followed. He began eating meals at the dining table instead of his office. He asked about her day. He listened, really listened, and Sophia, confused but grateful, slowly opened up about her past, about losing her parents young, about working 3 jobs before this one, about trusting the wrong people who left as soon as life got hard. And Jonathan found himself looking forward to these conversations more than board meetings, more than million-dollar deals, until one evening, when Sophia announced she had received a job offer elsewhere because she felt she didn't belong in a world like his. Jonathan panicked in a way that made no logical sense. And that's when he did the unthinkable. He offered her a new role, not as a maid, but as his personal assistant, with triple the pay, flexible hours, and something else he hadn't planned to say but did anyway. "I don't want you to feel alone here." And Sophia stared at him, torn between gratitude and disbelief, unaware that this decision wasn't driven by charity, but by something deeper growing silently in Jonathan's guarded heart. Days turned into weeks, and the line between employer and employee blurred into companionship, then friendship, then something neither of them dared to name, until one night, as rain battered the windows and memories weighed heavy again, Jonathan finally confessed that he had heard her that night in the kitchen, that her words had shaken him. And Sophia, expecting embarrassment or anger, instead found tears in the eyes of the most powerful man she had ever known as he admitted that he, too, was lonely, that success had cost him everything that once mattered. And in a moment that felt fragile and terrifying and real, Jonathan made the most unexpected decision of his life, not a contract, not a business move, but a choice of the heart. He asked Sophia not to be his employee anymore, but his equal, his partner, not because she needed a boyfriend, but because he needed someone who reminded him how to feel human again. And as she stood there stunned, realizing that sometimes the universe answers prayers in the most unexpected ways, their story became proof that love doesn't care about status, wealth, or titles, only truth, timing, and courage. And if this story touched your heart, if you believe that even the loneliest souls can find connection when they least expect it, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because more powerful, emotional stories like this are waiting for you. Stories that remind us all that sometimes, the greatest riches aren't counted in money, but in moments, choices, and the people who choose to stay.